Hello and welcome to this week's weekly roundup by blockchaingamer.biz, your source of the most relevant news in blockchain games. If you haven't already, check out the articles on our website, blockchaingamer.biz, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at BCGBiz. Today is Friday, the 19th of May, and I'm your host, Jenny Jordan, and with me is co-host John Jordan. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. Good. How are you?
Good, yes.
Good.
No sun today.
We're going to dive straight into it. So on Monday, Gala Games did this migration of its Gala token to a new smart contract address. And following this, Gala Games announced, quite surprisingly, that it had burned 15 billion Gala tokens. And previously, it burned 2 billion tokens, and before that, just under 4 billion tokens. So now it's burned what is called almost the entirety of their reserves. So at the time of burning these, the tokens were worth like $660 million.
Yep.
And Gala says that this is a measure to counter the dump and exit scenario. And Gala basically has no tokens left to dump. So why would they do a move like this? And is it a good strategic move, would you say?
As ever with Gala, it's sort of a little bit difficult to unpick. So I guess the background to this was I think we discussed previously, is they were migrating their ERC20 token, so their Ethereum-based token. They were moving it to a smart contract. So basically, they were looking at all the wallets holding these tokens and airdropping a new token from a new smart contract. So the old Gala tokens are now worthless. And everything going forward is with these new tokens. And obviously, there's always a bit of sort of problems when you migrate tokens, and there was issues if you had them locked in smart contracts for various reasons or liquidity pools, then they can't snapshot them, they can't see what wallets they're in, and those people might have millions of dollars of Gala tokens and don't get the airdrop. So there's all that sort of fuss, and then Coinbase said they weren't going to support the new token, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but it appears that one of the reasons that they wanted to do this migration, which they didn't really say at the time, was for some reason they couldn't count the number of tokens out there. So they were saying they couldn't really transparently burn these tokens, and they'd said they were going to burn 2 billion tokens as part of their roadmap.
Okay.
So burning tokens is sort of something a lot of people do. It sort of could be seen a little bit like share buybacks that companies sometimes do, is they buy back their shares from the market at a certain price. And obviously supposedly that means there's fewer of those shares out there, so the value of them, by basic math, should be worth more because it's more they're more scarce. So that's sort of one idea. I guess the interesting thing about Gala, that was the surprising thing, was they burnt these 2 billion, and then they just suddenly announced that basically all the tokens that they were holding, that they had acquired by sort of selling NFTs and all this sort of stuff, they were going to burn all that as well.
Yeah.
And I guess, I think we have discussed in the past, Gala is very focused on its token price, and it's historically been one of the best performing crypto tokens sort of ever. It's like enormous scale. So you can maybe see why they sort of very focused on that token price, and unlike other, because they're a platform, the sort of Gala is sort of more important than it would just be for one game, because it works sort of across all the games. So they do have to be much more sensitive about it, I guess. But it's still a big surprise that they burnt basically their entire reserve. And the reason they said, as you mentioned, is there was some, in the crypto space, you have this idea that some people might do a rug, so they might create a token and people will buy it, and then they'll basically, the people who create the token will just basically sell off the token and get the crypto that people paid for it and sort of run away. No, Gala were never going to do that because they're a big company, 400 people now. But there was, I think, still a perception with that the price you could never know what the price of Gala was going to be in the long term, because Gala could just start selling its reserves down at any point. So there was a nervousness that if Gala's sitting there with whatever it was, 20. Well, it would have been 15 billion in one point. 15 billion tokens. They could start selling 1 billion tokens over time, and the price would go down. So it's a sort of like a steel man sort of argument, or as they said, no one can say we're going to rug the the Gala community if we haven't got any tokens. So but it is interesting, I guess, that so they basically have no tokens. So Gala has no tokens. They put in, I think it was again 2 billion tokens were sort of locked into a treasury.
Yeah.
For the ecosystem, so that's sort of lots of projects have those sort of ecosystem funds. So it's not quite clear how they're going to be used, but they could be used for encouraging developers to develop on Gala or something. But the only way Gala will get tokens going forward is the same way that anyone else who owns a Gala node gets them going forward. I won't go into all the details about Gala. Gala is slightly weird that it has these sort of, even though it runs on Ethereum, it's sort of doing its own blockchain, and it has these nodes that people can buy. But it's not like you're running. You can run it on your own PC if you want to, I think, if you were very advanced. But most people just sort of buy these nodes, and Gala sort of runs them for them, and you get some of these Gala tokens. So I wouldn't say I fully understand it, and it is a little bit of an odd setup what they've done. But I think from their point of view, there's just like, we don't have any tokens now. We will get tokens going forward by sort of selling NFTs and running some of these nodes. And if you're running a node as well, you get exactly our views are aligned. Gala Games isn't going to get any more tokens than anyone else running and who happens to run a node.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it is sort of fair and egalitarian and all that sort of stuff. But it just is a bit weird that, as far as I can tell, it's sort of come out of nowhere. And maybe that's, if you're a decentralized project, maybe it would have been better for them to put it to, create a DAO and put it to a vote. And I'm sure the people would have said yes, because why wouldn't they? But it just seems a little bit weird that they've sort of, off the back of nothing, sort of said, well, we've burnt 42% of the total supply ever of Gala tokens. But,
I guess it's sort of a democratic move in a way that it's for sort of thinking about the community and putting them first, but equally because it's come so abruptly and out of nowhere, you wonder, is this really the reason they're kind of saying that they've done before, or is there any other?
No, I think it's probably the right decision, just maybe not made in the correct, way, I suppose. We'll see. I mean, as we sort of pointed out, Gala's got a lot of games sort of coming out now as well. So it does. The timing is sort of, I suppose from their point of view, good that they're sort of saying, all this stuff's happening. Is the future's amazing, like everyone always says. So we're not. To be fair though, we're not. It doesn't seem to be reflected in the price yet. The Gala price, like lots of other tokens, has been, pretty steadily sort of. It's up a bit since December last year, but sort of down over the last sort of few months. So I guess we won't see any impact of that until maybe the market turns, and we'll see if Gala outperforms other tokens, I suppose.
Okay. So in other news, Sky Mavis has announced that Axie Infinity Origins has gone live on the Apple App Store in certain countries in South America and Southeast Asia. And it makes me just wonder, really, what does this mean in terms of it being a blockchain game? Because initially it sounded, when Apple was talking about this, that they wouldn't approve any of blockchain games on this store. So how has that changed? Has it changed, or is it just that these games are compromising all of the blockchain aspects? So because it's not only Axie Infinity, is it? There's been quite a few games. We saw Cross the Ages they went top on the French strategy, the genre of strategy games on the App Store in France. They were at top. What other games? We've got NFL Rivals we've been talking about quite a lot in the recent weeks. So can you explain a little bit there?
Can I explain it? I don't know. So yeah, it is. I mean, I think everyone seems to have a slightly different sort of angle on this. So Sky Mavis has been, because obviously the original game Axie Infinity, which is now called Axie Infinity Classic, was never released through the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. So the people playing that were playing on PC or downloading an APK onto their Android devices.
Yeah.
So it's never properly been through the App Store. So Sky Mavis is sort of, when it sort of was reworking the game, so the game has been totally reworked pretty much, and it's called Axie Infinity Origins. So they were really keen to get that, distributed through Google Play and Apple App Store. And I'd sort of forgotten, actually, they did announce that a version I can't remember where it was available, Malaysia or somewhere. So a version has been available through the Google Play Store for a while in soft launch testing.
Okay.
And then they announced that it's available in places like Argentina and Vietnam, and so not sort of high-end countries, not countries actually where you'd expect a lot of iPhones to be around, because iPhones are really big in developed countries, so North America and Western Europe, and China.
Now Argentina, though, quite bullish on crypto, and
but they just don't have iPhones there.
compared
That's
to
the thing.
like Venezuela, which are also on the list.
Yeah. I mean, people in Venezuela don't have iPhones, so it's sort of a, the territory mapping is sort of what you'd expect, because Latin America and Southeast Asia are big in crypto, but I don't think there's many people there with iPhones, so it's a sort of very limited release. And again, it is you can at the moment you can download Axie Infinity Origins, the PC version, Mac version, and APK from the Sky Mavis store, and that's a fully integrated blockchain game. It's got all the that's sort of the full game. This version being downloaded through the app stores is absolutely not that full game. So there's no NFT stuff in there. You can bring. I mean, I've obviously not done it because I'm not living in one of those current territories, nor do I have an iPhone. But what they say is, if you sort of connect your account, and if you have Axies, you can bring them into your mobile game and play them. But you can't do any of the crafting stuff using the SLP token. That all has to be done on the web, which is the approach that pretty much every mobile game with blockchain elements has done. So you can't really do any blockchain stuff in the app that's being downloaded through the App Store. You have to do all the blockchain stuff on the web, and you connect your account, and they do it that way. So that's been happening for years. But the weird thing is that Apple announced sort of the end of last year that it had these special NFT rules now that it hadn't had before, and the whole point of that was it said you can do NFTs stuff in the game as long as there is parity between anything you do in the app. Anything you do outside the app has to also be available in the app. So if you're selling NFTs for $1,000, on your website, you have to sell NFTs for $1,000 in the app, and then Apple gets their 30%. So that was the whole thing, and there was lots of debate about how that would work and blah blah blah. And I don't quite know, how this hangs together with the fact that all these games, Axie Infinity version, NFL Rivals, are all doing blockchain stuff outside of the app and not having anything in the app, which is exactly not what Apple said they were allowing people to do. So there's like total confusion. I've spoken to a few people about this, and they just sort of say, well,
As in, you've spoken to the developers themselves about this, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
As in people, okay.
I've spoken to people who have spoken to Apple about this, and there just is. It's as clear as mud about. So everyone goes on about Apple really care about parity. I mean, Apple do hate tokens. So if you have a game with tokens, they're not going to allow crypto tokens in a game. That seems pretty clear. But as far as I can tell, every blockchain game through the Apple App Store shouldn't be allowed under their terms and conditions.
Okay.
So it's clear as mud. I guess the thing that matters now is, can any of these games sort of use the fact they're in the App Store as a sort of not marketing, as a distribution platform. So were there a lot of people who wanted to play Axie and couldn't work out the blockchain bit of it, and now it's in the App Store, just going to download it and play? You can play it as a free-to-play game. There's no NFTs in there, so they can play it and get a feel of the game, and then a percentage of those people are going to work out how they do the blockchain bit on the web. So that's the sort of what people are using the block. What developers are hoping they can get from the app stores is, app stores are connected to like 3 billion devices out there, so you can easily get millions of people to download your game through the app store, and then you can maybe convert like 1% of those to the crypto side. So you're using it in that way. You're getting people who you couldn't otherwise target to come to your website or download your APK. Now that's not been proven yet, so we can't sort of judge it. And as we say, this seems to be going against the rules that Apple and Google have, or Apple at least have set up. So it's as clear as mud, really. But there's lots of coverage around.
It'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see the first kind of games that can show data on that they did get users onboarding their blockchain game. Through having gone on the App Store, sort of thing.
I would say NFL Rivals would at the moment seem to be the one that, I mean, I haven't got any data on it, again, sort of, the developers tend to put on Twitter, like, as you said, cross the ages, put on that they were the number one strategy game in France, which is, I mean, they're a French company, so is that a big thing or not? I don't know really. But they've not got any. If you look at their on-chain data, there's like no one doing the blockchain stuff. So it's that conversion rate, and NFL Rivals, I think, again, I've not had any formal data, but it seems to have been done okay on downloads. I have not seen any conversion thing, and Mythical have the Nitro Nation game, which I'm much more sort of bullish about because it's a drag racing game and that's a massive strategy, a massive category. So that's not out yet, but we'll see. So I'm sure someone will sort of get somewhere on that, but I'm still not convinced it's a sort of a great strategy for everyone. But
So we've also had some launches this week, and pretty much as you had expected in the previous weeks, the launch on the SUI mainnet weren't very eventful. Really, it's the final Stardust from Comet Labs, Project Illusion from Arrivant, and this move to earn game Run Legends. Excuse me. They're a mobile game live on the app stores at the moment, but again, what aspects of that is blockchain, but it is live on the SUI mainnet now. Senders had their land NFT mint, and Illuvium Overworld is in private beta 2, as well as the news coming from Aurori, the developer of their Auto Battler Prologue 2 adventure is now being live and playable. Have you got any comments on any of these launches?
No, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going live at the moment. I don't, it's all early stage stuff. So Illuvium stuff, you have to have the NFTs to do it. Aurori stuff, again, it's their sort of first prologue to their main sort of game. So it's actually not their Auto Battler. The Auto Battler is the other game, but there is an Auto Battler in there. Yes, a little confusing. So there's I think the general theme. There's a bunch of stuff going live. The SUI thing, I mean, that was just really badly handled from a PR point of view. There was nothing going live. I mean, that run game has gone live, but everything else was just minting, minting stuff on SUI, which is nothing wrong with that. But sort of, the original articles, like all these games are going playable or something. So, that wasn't the case.
Okay.
But yeah, I think just in generally there is a general sort of trend now that it's just, as we well know, there's 800 blockchain game projects out there, and a lot of them are sort of some of the better ones are now getting to sort of playables. So we just have a lot of news around new, well-known products putting out new sort of features or coming to a first sort of playable. And a lot of those things don't have blockchain in them at the moment. They're still sort of testing out the gameplay sort of
very
the
Web3 way of doing it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Exciting for our website. We've had the first Mavis feature this week. Yes. We had a selection of experts in the blockchain games space answer. Well, the idea is that they're going to answer different questions related to blockchain gaming every month. And this first round, we asked how positive they are about the rest of 2023 in regards to their own projects. And I think we can sum that up as a largely moderately positive outlook. Most of these projects are focused on sort of just keeping on building regardless of the changes on the crypto market, which I think is a strength really, and good that they can do that without being too affected. Whether they're not actually as affected as they say, I don't know, but it was a good thing to get that up. And if you want to check that out, that's on blockchaingamer.biz, and you can find all of our other articles there as well. And that's it from us this week, and we'll see you all next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.